oras na sa pagkonsulta sa usaping legal. Narito si Atty. Jomar Castillo, ang inyong tagapag, Payong Legal.
Magandang gabi sa si Magandang gabi ulit. Ito si Atty. Jomar Castillo for Payong Legal. Kakagulo sa booth niya. May konti lang adjustments. Well, magandang gabi ulit. Isa na naman pong edisyon nito ng public service show ng Atty TV. We're Payong Legal. So we give out free legal advice to our viewers. And if you have questions concerning the law or any legal issues that you may have in your life, you can send us your questions at the text line that you see in your screens. If you want to talk to us live, you can also call us at 412-0288 or at 997-7589. Well, today, I'd like to concentrate kasi a number of people have asked me kasi alam naman po natin yung Operation Tokhang ay yung katok at hangtod ba yan? I think in Bisaya it's more of invite, no? That the police have been conducting their Operation Tokhang or Operation Double Barrel, no? But I think a more concern of our the general population is that what can you do or how you should act or respond to a visit by the police in your house, no? Kasi alam naman po natin that they have been knocking on doors and recently they have reached the exclusive villages, no? So medyo nako-concern siguro yung ating ilang mga middle class people, and in fact they've been doing this even in the highly urbanized areas, no? Yung masisikip at maraming tao. So ano ba yung tamang pag-akto or how do you respond to requests by the police to talk to you, to visit your houses, etc. No? Well, number one, it's a sacred right of everyone to be secure in their own houses, no? Kumbaga, the house is every man has a castle, which is your house, you know, yung the basic foundation of the key right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures in your own house, no? So basic right po ng lahat yan, no? So you can refuse the policeman in requesting to enter your house, but of course hindi mo naman pwedeng bastusin yun. He's a person of authority. So, I don't think the police will force his way into a house kung hindi mo naman papayagan. No? So, you can talk to him at your door or sa gate mo. And just ask questions. As I understand, the policemen have been well briefed on how to conduct these operations. I've heard some of my friends have been visited, and the policemen were very courteous naman. I think in some barangays ang ginagawa nila is they give out leaflets, no, on sinong tatawagan, saan pupunta kung may nalalaman silang suspicious activities in their communities, no. And I think that's very timely kasi nga nagugulat na lang tayo in exclusive villages or in some areas na kumukha yung nakita yung where the president was speaking earlier this afternoon. It was in a piggery na meron palang factory of shabu doon, no? So I think it's timely that the police would really do their verification work, their investigation work, and the community should get involved, no, in finding out who, pag may bagong tao dyan sa community mo, maybe you can tell your barangay officials to give a check, no? Dahil siyempre it's security of your community, no? Your children are out there playing in the streets, so you wouldn't want them to be exposed to such risk of crime, no? So let's get involved, no? Yun naman yata yung pinaka main purpose of the Operation Tokhang, to get the community involved in this fight against crime. And let's engage the police in their efforts. No, it's not right that we refuse them outright or siguro sa dahil sa takot. But definitely talking to them, receiving information from them, everyone should welcome it. But of course, you have a right to refuse them entry. I think that's basic, and that will be observed by the policemen in accordance with their own operation manual. So, ang nagiging complication lang is, of course, if during an operation, there's criminal activity suddenly discovered with the police. At doon na nangyayari yung mga sometimes it leads to death or shootouts or of course apprehension and seizures of illegal activities. I have to tell you that according to the reports of the PNP, there have been deaths reported, and they have been, of course, investigating such deaths in an armed confrontation as required by their manual of procedures. But there have also been arrests and seizures, no? And this will lead to a case, no? So it's to us lawyers and to law students now, it would be very interesting to find out how these cases will turn out, no? Iba-ibang circumstances yan, I'm pretty sure, on how the arrests were done or how the seizures were done during an operation Tokhang, no? Kasi very malalim na yung jurisprudence dyan on when a warrantless search can be done in accordance with law, no? Mahaba ng discussions dyan. So we would want to see how this will play out in the several instances of from July 1 to now we're nearing September 30, so almost 90 days of this intense Operation Tokhang of activities by our PNP, on how the courts would receive such cases. No? Definitely, hindi ho natatapos since apprehension and arrest. Tandaan po natin, inuulit-ulit ko, there are 5 pillars of the criminal justice system. One, the law enforcement authorities, which, to their credit, they've been doing very well. Of course, given na po yung criticisms of aggression, no? In terms of parang unreasonable aggression in the shootouts. But that's a given. But at least we see them really working hard. Nakikita mo natin, sinasabi nga ni General Bato na they've been working overtime. Hindi na daw natutulog ang kanyang men. No? So we should commend that. So that's law enforcement. Number 2, prosecution. So doon na tayo susunod, no? On how the fiscals will receive this during preliminary investigation and how eventually they will prosecute it before the courts, no? Then third will be the court, no? The judges now will be looking at each case. Remember, as I told you, ang warrantless arrest has several procedures, and case laws define how it should be done. Otherwise, pag nakita ho ng judge yan na the procedures were not met, the search is deemed illegal, everything that was found during that search will be thrown out and deemed inadmissible in evidence. So hindi ho yan magagamit to prosecute kung sino man to accuse at eventually mapapalaya po, no? So those 3 branches would have to do their work faithfully, and at sana maging masipag sila sa kanilang trabaho para makita talaga we get to see how the criminal justice system would really work. Then the 4th would be, of course, our penal system, yung ating penitentiary system. Nakita naman po natin dun sa hearings na ginagawa sa iba yung pagbabago dapat na magawa dyan. Then the 5th, community. Ito na nga, this is where the community should be involved, no? And the Operation Tokhang is one of the means by way our law enforcement agencies are imploring or encouraging people to participate in this criminal justice system, especially in the war against drugs. Sorry. So we will see how it will play. No, later on, as we move along with the show, I'll give you a discussion on what is deemed by the court as a valid warrantless search and seizure. No, kumbaga yun yung may mga certain parameters kasi sinet ang ating korte on how these things should be conducted, no? Now, itong mga parating na kaso, titingnan ng korte, would an operation tukhang be considered as a, let's say yung basic, yung kakatok yung policeman, at pag nakita niya that there is suspicious activity inside, suddenly he would rush into the house and seize some drugs found there, no? May naririnig tayo na may bypass daw, no? That's a different operation, no? Meron din ng sariling operation yan. I think the bypass is more mas madali yung i-prove yun, no? Ito sa valid search, no? Dahil ginagawa naman talaga yan. At saka, ang nangyayari doon is there is a crime being done in the presence of the police. So, different po yan. Let's concentrate on the warrantless search and seizure of the operation tukhang. So, doon po tayo mamaya pag-usapan natin on when such things shall be held valid. Or even in the checkpoints. Because of the declaration of our President that there is a state of lawlessness, there's an increased presence of checkpoints on our streets. So, we will be discussing those things. Anong mangyayari when you are stopped in a checkpoint? Anong pwedeng gawin ng police? Hindi pag-uusapan din po natin later on in the show. All of these things we are discussing so that our viewers, you viewers, would be educated on your rights and para naman po hindi kayo magkaroon ng fear or unwarranted fear na pag binuksan kayo ng kotse o binuksan ng inyong bahay, you will feel already scared that something would happen to you. So I think we're trying to educate and let you know that there are proper procedures for it, and the manuals of operations of our PNP are well documented, and we would be should be comforted that they know their boundaries and they know their and they know the rights of people, no? Kasi considered naman yan talaga when they do their operations, no? Hindi naman sila out there to be, as General Boto said, that butchers, no? Hindi naman po. So we will see on how our courts would consider the warrantless searches and seizures and arrests later on during this operation tukhang activities and the checkpoint itself. At this point, we'll probably take a short break for a few messages from our station. Magbabalik po ang Payong Legal.
Manatiling nakatutok sa DZRJ 810 AM, 8 Media at 8 TV, Cable Link Channel 7. This is 8 TV.
My name is Kubo. I look after my mother mostly. What was father like?
He was just like you, strong and so handsome.
Ugh, mother. I use magic to tell stories. If you must blink, do it now. About epic battles, warriors and monsters. But I had no idea my stories were actually true.
We've been looking for you for so long.
Mother!
Kubo, you must find your father's armor. It's your only chance.
Kubo! Who are you?
Your family is very powerful. Your mother used her magic to save you and bring me to life. I'm here to protect you, Kubo. And that means you have to do as I say. Don't mess with the monkey.
Have you seen this crest before?
Of course.
This is a miracle. I have found the son of my master. Your quest is now my quest too.
We don't know anything about you. Firing an arrow is hardly what I'd call impressive.
Literally the first time I've ever done it.
Your magic is growing stronger. You need to learn control. Don't touch anything.
He did it. I got this. I don't got this. Claim your birthright, Kubo. Give this story a happy ending. No, no, no. Yes.
Uy, si Miss. Unang tingin pa lang, puti na. Kinis pa.
Nag-Myra Vita-White Hand and Body Lotion kasi. May vitamin E beads and natural plant extracts that help nourish skin deep inside for a healthy white glow. Puti at kinis,
Ay,
hanggang malapitan.
yala na.
Healthy white glow sa Myra Vita-White Lotion. Yan ang alagang holistic by Myra. Trusted quality healthcare. Unilab yan.
Great things often come from humble beginnings. In 1995, Aquabest is established with the simple vision of an Aquabest store in every community. Driven by passion and commitment, and guided by its vision, Aquabest soared to be the leader in its industry. Through the years, many things has changed. New ideas flourished as Aquabest went ahead and forged new ground, reinventing the way we see and experience water through technology. From a single store, Aquabest can now be found everywhere in the country. And now, a new chapter is ready to be written. New communities and trends may come, but in the end, the vision remains the same.
Mantikang makapit, mag-dishwashing na sulit! The sulit! I found the one!
Kalsebo, pati lansa I love it, sulit pa yan Pag gas paste o doble pa Ang dali ng ugasan That's the way, the sulit I found the one That's the way, the sulit I found the one
Todo linis, presyong sulit, das!
This program is brought to you by Atty Media Pro Incorporated. Oras na sa pagkonsulta sa usaping legal. Narito si Atty Jomar Castillo, ang inyong tagapag, Payong Legal.
Magandang gabi ulit. Nagbabalik po ang Payong Legal. Well, we're going to discuss tonight some of the rules that are relevant to Operation Tokhang, no? Which is essentially searches and seizures without the benefit of a search warrant, no? Of course, in some instances, no? Especially if a crime has been committed in the presence of the officer. Okay, so let's take a look at the PNP operation procedure, no? Ito yung pinaka-manual nila where they list all of the rules and guidelines that they should do in everything that the policeman would do, no? So there's patrol, there's in affecting an arrest, rules during a responding to a call, etc. No, I'm taking a look at Rule 17. By the way, the PNP manual has been issued by the PNP in March 2010. No, so under the manual, there's Rule 17 on searches and seizures, and of course, Rule number 1 starts with securing a search warrant. But this is not relevant to yung Operation Tokhang activities, no. So we look at Section 9 of Rule 17, which states that it's under the subject of valid warrantless searches and seizures, no. So there are several instances when a search may be made, no. So number 1 is search made incidental to an arrest, no. Relevant ito during, for example, a buy-bust operation, where the police would have suspicion that a particular person is selling drugs, no? So they would do a buy-bust where they will prepare the materials to be needed, like for example the marked money, and of course the asset would pretend to be a buyer, and then immediately the police, upon seeing that that the buy has been done, they do the bust, no? Kaya nga buy-bust, no? So they immediately arrest and accost the person. During such time that you're arresting a person because it's a crime being done in your presence, you have the right. The law enforcement officer has the right to search anything which may be used or constitute proof in the commission of an offense without a search warrant. So you can seize, of course, the drugs being used, and if you see guns in the person of the person being accosted, of course, you can also seize that. Ngayon, ang difference is, if, for example, it's being done outside of the house, the rule is the police cannot go inside the house of that person because kailangan siyang kumuha ng search warrant unless the arrest was done inside. No? So, immediate environs would now be used, can be searched validly. If, for example, the buy bust was done, let's say, yung ginawa is habang dumadaan inside the car, the seller just gives out the sachet. The car may be immediately stopped, and inside the car, everything that is found there may be used, may be seized, no, and be part of the evidence that can be presented, no. So it's search being done in a valid arrest, no. Search of moving vehicles. Ito naman po yung mga checkpoints, no. Ang rule ho dyan is that, of course, there again in another portion of the manual. Siguro later we can outline it, but the checkpoint must briefly, no, the checkpoint must be done in a well-lit place. A patrol car should be there. Policemen manning the checkpoint should be all in uniform, no. So if the police officer will conduct a search at reasonable or probable cause to believe before the search that either the motorist or law offender will find the instrument or the evidence pertaining to a crime in the vehicle to be searched, the vehicle may be stopped and subject to extensive search. Ito na yung sasabi ko kanina na if you've been tipped that such car has is being used for an illegal activity, so the police can stop that, no? But it's limited to a seizure in plain view, no? Ano ito, the court has already extensively discussed this. Ano ba yung plain view? If you will notice that the checkpoint, they don't ask you to go down. You'll be asked to roll down your window, but that's about it, no? The police would should just take a look, use their flashlight, and whatever they see there, if they see suspicious materials there, they can search it. But however, they cannot open the trunk, they cannot open the glove compartment because it's not considered as plain view. Hindi rin kayo pwedeng pababain, no? Unless, of course, there is suspicion that you're doing some suspicious activity, like, for example, they smell alcohol or they smell drugs in your breath, no? They do have the right to search and pat you, no? Stop and frisk. So sa stop and frisk, limited din po yan sa pag-frisk, no? They cannot ask you to pull out your pockets, no? So frisking lang po yun. So anything outside the clothes can be seized, no? So maigpit po yung rules nga dito kasi nga, again, these are exceptions. As I started kanina, the searches and seizure, dapat po talaga may search warrant. But there are, of course, instances the court recognizes that in law enforcement, mahirap naman pigilan sila and restrict ang capability to make arrests and seizures, no? But these are exceptions. That's why mahigpit po yung rules on these. And then number 4, when a warrantless search can be done, is of course there is a waiver of your right, no, not to be subjected to a search and seizure without warrant. Yan na po yung sasabi ko kanina, na during an operation Tokang, if the police asks, can I enter your house? If the person there says yes, and pumasok ko yan at meron nung makitang ebidensya that can be used against you, then that's it. That is already considered as a valid search kasi may consent ka. But again, the consent must come from the owner of the house, no? A consent secured from a maid or from your driver, of course, are not considered as valid against the owner of the house. Meron no ditong isang ground where a warrantless search may be done. Yung sinasabing tipped information. If, for example, nakakuha ng tip yung police, no, that there are illegal activities being done in a particular house, supposedly they can do the search, no. Ang sabi dito, if the police have reasonable grounds to believe that the subjects are engaged in illegal activities, the tipped information is sufficient to provide probable cause to effect a warrantless search and seizure. Medyo delikado po yung strict interpretation of this rule, no? Because the courts have already discussed, again, several instances where a search was deemed invalid because the police were acting on a tip. Suddenly, inakost yung tao. Because ang probable cause lang is that there are tips that there are illegal activities. Like for example, ang classic, marami nung during the 80s, maraming cases where supposedly marijuana was being transported out of Baguio. Doon sa mga terminals daw, nandun daw po yung mga nagtatransport. No? So acting on tips, several policemen have searched people or passengers in terminals or in buses coming from Baguio. In several instances also, the court has said that acting on a tip when the police had occasion or had the opportunity to secure a search warrant, and yet they did not, and proceeded with a warrantless arrest, that can be deemed as an illegal search. No? Kasi, for example, you received a tip 2 days or 3 days ago that a particular shipment is being done via the bus, let's say bus coming from Baguio. You should have secured a search warrant. No? If you had reason, if you have enough time to do it, 3 days, sabi ng court, that's enough time. 2 days, that's enough time. So you should have done so. No? Same, applying that rule in the present case, where sinasabi ng some of our law enforcement officials were saying that, alam na namin kung sino yung mga users or drug pushers in certain industries, like sa showbiz industry daw, alam na nila. Kung ganun, you shouldn't employ tokhang already, but you should secure search warrants or arrest warrants for that matter kung meron na kayong information. So again, of course, it depends, of course, on the level of the information. But if there is sufficient ground, sufficient basis, may personal knowledge that can allow a law enforcement agency to secure the warrant, either a search warrant or an arrest warrant, then it should be made. No, tokhang is not a reason for the police to shortcut the process. Kasi kung kaya nyo naman kumuha ng warrants, then let's do so. Although admittedly, mahirap. I've also in my early years, no, I've also secured search warrants. Mahirap po yan. It would take the personal knowledge of a person applying for the warrant. No? So, kung hindi ho siya mismong kasama o nakikita na nagbebenta yung isang tao, it would be very difficult. No? Kung hearsay siya or according to reports, hindi ho yan sufficient to get a search warrant or an arrest warrant. So, I do see the dilemma of our law enforcement officers. But then again, if you're using this as a ground to effect a warrantless search, I caution our law enforcement officers because baka ho masayang yung pagod nyo. Eventually, madidismiss din kung sakaling ma-prove that you're acting on a tip at you did the search nonetheless or you did the arrest nonetheless, but you still had occasion to secure the necessary warrant. No? So, balanse po yan. We just have to find out how the courts would view such circumstances. No? Sana naman hindi dahil masasayang ng pagod ng ating mga law enforcement agencies. But again, nandun po yan sa ating batas, nasa procedures po natin yan. So it's something that our law enforcement are very well aware of. So wag naman po sanang later on magkakasisihan. Si fiscal, si judge for a case being thrown out because the warrantless search or the warrantless arrest was deemed illegal. So, well, nangyayari po yan. No? So, ang akin pong unsolicited advice is that for our officers, if they have strong tips or strong information, attempt to secure a warrant. It's better that you are armed with a warrant and then you do the arrest and the search rather than do the warrantless search and the warrantless arrest and risk that. No, after all, you've risked your life in making the arrest and making the search. Tas mababaliwala lang. No, so that is my unsolicited advice. That if you do have time or the opportunity to secure a warrant, please do so. At this point, we will take another short break for a few messages from our station. Magbabalik po ang Payong Legal.
Manatiling nakatutok sa DZRJ 810 AM, 8 Tri-Media at 8 Tri-TV, Cable Link Channel 7. This is 8 Tri-TV.
Celebrating its 55th anniversary, Mapicon is headed to Bacolod. Be part of the national caravan together with Mapicon's 46 branches. Learn to keep your families and communities pest and disease-free. Get great deals on Mapicon's patented Filipino inventions for your home and the environment. Get in touch with any Mapicon branch and know about your local caravan stopover and special promos. Thank you for helping Mapicon accomplish its mission for the past 55 years. You're in control with Mapicon.
Promo period is from September 5 to October 29, 2016 for DTI FEED SPD permit number 10849 series of 2016.
I saw her. I saw her from the train.
How could you be so?
What happened that night? Tell me the truth.
G'day, I'm Bullet Explorer from Davao City. Did you know that the rainy season also ushers in the season of the mosquitoes? Stagnant water brought by constant LPAs or low pressure areas provide a perfect breeding ground for Calicidae or the mock. 5, 6, 7 pests.
Mapicon, what is your emergency?
Who's there?
Kim Atienza po para sa Mapicon. Ligtas na po kayo. Para sa problema sa daga, ipis, anay at lamok, tawagan ng Mapicon.
Sobrang init. Sumakit ang ulo ko. Buti, mabait katabi ko.
Taas ng lagnat ko noon. Buti may nagmalasakit.
Nanghina ako sa headache. Buti may tumulong.
Sa sakit ng ulo o lagnat, kusang lumalabas ang pag-aalaga. At wala nang hihigit pa sa ingat na napapadama natin. Kasama ang Biojessic po.
Biojessic, ma?
Mrs. Biojessic po. Biojessic. Ingat na damang-dama.
Trusted quality healthcare. Unilab yan.
This program is brought to you by 8 Tri-Media Pro Incorporated. Oras na sa pagkonsulta sa usaping legal. Narito si Atty. Jomar Castillo, ang inyong tagapag, Payong Legal.
Magandang gabi ulit, no? This is Payong Legal again. We're discussing tonight, no, some issues involved in the controversial and but some quarters say effective operation Tokhang by our PNP. No, some say effective because of course arrests are being made. The drug our law enforcement agencies are reporting that they are making a big dent on the operations of illegal drugs in the country. No, so we're discussing this not to criticize but to enhance and to make our viewers educated on how to deal with it. No, sinabi nga natin kanina at the start of the show, Operation Tokhang is a more of parang intense patrolling activities of our policemen. No, and they do have the operation manual for it. So hindi ho ito dapat katakutan, bagkus dapat nating suportahan bilang isang komunidad dahil nakakatulong ito sa pagsugpo ng krimen sa ating bayan. No? But then again, there are some steps that siguro in some instances where the manual was not followed. No? At now it is up to the court pagdating ho nung kaso sa korte para dito sa mga naaresto if to determine if such procedures were followed or not in the Operation Tokhang. Again, this is still one aspect pa lang ho ng criminal justice system. Yung law enforcement, yung making the arrest, making the searches and seizures, that's just one aspect. The second, we now move on to the prosecution and then later on to the courts. No? So sila po eventually ang mag-rule niya. No? Discuss ko sandali yung rules during an armed confrontation. Nasa manual din po ng PNP. Again, I'm citing the PNP operation procedures of March 2010 na nasa website naman po ng Philippine National Police. during an armed confrontation or right after, there are certain obligations to be done by the police, no? We've seen in the news footages na pinagkakaguluhan yung eksena. May mga taong gustong pumasok at malapitan yung let's say, namatay dahil kamag-anakan sila. May right po ang ating kapulisan to stop people from going inside a crime scene. Dahil of course, that is a scene of the crime, so dapat po ma-preserve yung evidence that is in that area, no? Dahil para malaman kung the death was really due to a shootout or was it a rob-out, no? So yung pong naririnig po natin na umiiyak po yung kamag-anakan, let's say nanay or asawa nung namatay, papasukin daw siya, gustong halikan, gustong yapusin. May karapatan po ang ating well, again, according to the operations manual, that the deceased or the victim cannot be touched or moved. Kasi syempre, critical ho yung position of the body in determining whether or not they were shot in close range, were they really firing a gun at the time that they were killed in a shootout, no? So, pag ginalaw ho yun, niyapos, hinalikan, binuhat, mag-iiba po, definitely ang posisyon. So, as much as possible, it should be preserved until the investigators, the SOCO, arrives to document, picturean sa ng bala, picturean sa ng body, picturean sa siya nakaharap, etc. etc. No? And everything should be documented. Dahil under investigation po lahat yan. Even the police who were involved in the shootout. No? It's also by procedure, the SOPs that the police who were involved in such shootout should be fully investigated. In fact, recalled to barracks muna yan. They cannot do an operation. So, parte po yan ng sistema, no? Parte po ng kanilang operation. So, wag po natin silang husgahan na baka kaya ayaw palapitin dahil may ginagawa sila doon. Yes, may ginagawa sila. The police are investigating. The police is properly documenting the scene. Dahil kasama po yan sa ebidensyang two ways, no? The evidence against the victim, if indeed he was involved in a shootout. And of course, for the administrative aspect of the case, where the policeman involved might be accused of a rob-out, no? Kailangan po nila yung ma-preserve yung eksena para magkaroon ng proper documentation at proper investigation of the scene, no, of the crime scene, no. So makita nyo po merong yellow line which is siguro 20 meters from the body, just to make sure that the crime scene is preserved, no. Bawal apakan. The photographer should be outside of this yellow line. Picture nila, but they cannot go inside, no. Only the SOCO personnel and the police in charge of the scene ang maaaring pumasok doon. Tama lang naman po yun, no? In fact, under the operation manual din, kailangan tapusin muna yung inquest bago galawin yung katawan, no? Kasi gusto rin syempre makita ng inquest fiscal whether or not a crime has been committed at sinong may nag-perpetrate, no? So, kasama po yun sa pag-iimbestiga. Let me go back now to the issue on checkpoints. Nasa manual of procedures then on when a checkpoint will be held valid, no? What do you mean by plain view? Definitely only within the as the term says, no? Yung nakikita ng dalawang mata mo in plain sight without moving anything. Ganun, no, kasimple ang isipin ng plain view, no? So kung wala hong nakikita ang police na suspect, even if it's a bag that they see, they don't have a right to open it unless of course they have suspicion to believe that you're involved in a crime at the time, no? May classic case po yung korte, just to give you an example, no? A checkpoint was conducted in the mountain province. The bus was coming from Sagada. Again, this was acting on a tip. The policemen had a tip that people have been coming from Baguio and from Sagada, transporting marijuana daw, no? So ito po yung kaso ni a certain Dutch national, Mr. Momstead. Nakasakay po siya sa isang bus. Pinasok po yung bus ng mga tauhan ho ng police. At nakita po sa kanya na may nakabulge daw sa kanyang waist, no? And it was a belt bag. The police asked for it, and when they opened, they found 4 naka-tape na bulging products inside this belt bag, no? Binuksan nila. Nakita nila may 4 na piraso dun at nakita nila ang laman ni hashish, no? So it's a derivative of marijuana. So immediately they arrested Mr. Momstead and nag-proceed po sa kaso, and then he was convicted of the crime of drug possession in 1989. Inakit niya po sa korte yan. The Supreme and the defense of Mr. Momstead was that it was an illegal search. Dahil kinuha sa kanya yung bag, binuksan yung bag, hindi naman yun plain view. It's a violation of the plain view doctrine. The court was divided on this issue. Kasi maraming kaso na nagsasabi that you cannot open the bag dahil hindi na yung plain view. May mga kaso rin na inaalaw yun, no? It was a slim majority by the Supreme Court. This was a decision penned by Justice Padilla. Sinabi po ng court that the search was valid because the police were acting first on a tip. Number 2, they had suspicion to believe that that person was carrying drugs, thus requiring them to open that belt bag, no? Because it was bulging sa waist, no? Baka daw barilyon or whatever, no? So it was deemed as a valid search, and the court said yes, the conviction is proper. Maraming dissent po ang nangyari doon, specifically the long dissent of Justice Narvasa. He was saying that Justice Narvasa was saying that this ruling of the majority did not conform with the long line of cases where the plain view doctrine was not recognized, no? At it was held illegal search, no? So a very thin majority, but yet the circumstances played a lot into the ruling of the court, no? Why is it always a difficult decision for a judge to make? Kasi nga, again, going back to the start of our show, ang warrantless search po, a warrantless seizure is the exception to the rule. It would really take a close scrutiny of the circumstances and the facts surrounding a particular warrantless seizure before it can be ruled as legal or valid. So, again, this is what we should all know, no? Na first, the court do recognize that there is some circumstances or situations where a warrantless seizure may be made or even a warrantless arrest may be made. And it all rests on the fact that whether the police had suspicion to believe the time that they stop and frisk you or at a checkpoint or during a normal patrol procedure, whether or not that person is involved in a criminal activity at that time that they are searching. So, it's a fine line. Ang akin na lang pong advice sa ating mga viewers is of course be relaxed during a checkpoint. Engage the officer so that they'll know that you are not hiding anything, no? Pag lalo siguro pinagpapawisan na wala lamang rason, no? Baka lalo lang kung magkaroon ng suspicion to believe, no? And while it's it's incumbent upon the police to prove that there is that suspicion to believe, let us not give them that, no? Kasi baka ho dun magkaroon ng complications at may mangyaring hindi ka nais-nais, no? So let us be relaxed and be calm during a checkpoint situation or a stop and frisk situation para ho hindi ho maiwasan po ang mga hindi inaasahang bagay. I think at this point we will We will have a hookup with President Duterte on a live event, no? Pakinggan po natin si Presidente.
I said it's a matter of principle. Matter of principle, ayaw ko talaga. Buti ang magkaintindihan na tayo. Medyo carry the burden of war. Si Duterte kasi ayaw ko. Sabihin ko sa inyo, as a matter of principle, I cannot accept that. That's the problem. So, iba na namang diskarte ito. I really do not know. Either Nor abandons the Abu Sayyaf and you will take care of the Abu Sayyaf. Kami ni Nor, we will just talk about peace. In the fullness of God's time, Allah, maybe we can perfect it. The Komunista tapos itong Abu Sayyaf, MI, then maybe we can have a peaceful Mindanao. We'll have no bombings anymore, but inshallah, baka. So that is my report to you. My guidance is to you. Hindi ako naging ng guidance. I'm just making a very strong statement. Hindi ito basta-basta ka na. Kung sino yung presidente na, ba't kayong lahat? That is why I have placed you to be policemen. Actually, when I said I am calling the armed forces to assist you, I am now calling you to be policemen also, to fight the drugs. That is what it means actually, simply stated. Ngayon, you'll have to change your paradigm. Because the coming years, it will outlast you, I'm sure, after your retirement. Dadating yan. Kailan? Do not bother to ask. Dadating yan. It's terrorism. ISIS will be there. In Mindanao, parts of Lanao, where my lola, meron doon mga ISIS yung mga banners nila. And I know that Arabs, tawag nila puti, going around just lecturing. Ngayon ang mga komunista ko mag-teach wala madalang mga political officer nila, wala mang baril yan. They go there and they are promoting the vicious, that is next year, I have a budget, naghingi ako, I will provide every soldier, irrespective of rank, bigyan ko kayo lahat ng armas short. Kasi hindi ako maniwala that I'm overruling that silly isa pa rin itong pulis. Kasi pag hindi ka naka-uniforme, hindi ka magdaka ng baril. Hindi pa ka inutil naman ng pulis pati pulis na kayo ngayon Kaya ako binibili ng baril. Ito naman pulis. Diba may rule sila na if you're not in uniform, huwag ka magdala ng baril. Yung koridor na yung Kalinan to Bukidnon to Cagayan, tapos dadaan ka ng part of North Cotabato, huwag kayo magkumpiyansa dyan. Dapat nakakak-unlock ka talaga dyan. Kayong dumadaan dyan, kayong mga taga Mindanao. So yung police, galing dyan sa Marahan, which is actually the boundary of Davao and naka-uniform, upo siya doon sa likod ng driver. Hindi may kasama ang policewoman pero walang baril. Kasi sinong general nito? Sabi niya, bakit? Kung gusto kong patayin, bakit mag-order ka ng ganun? A policeman is a 24-hour policeman. Kaya naman sabihin na, Mayor, may pinatay dyan, nagpapatayan. Tapos sabi ko, mag-uwi mo na ako, makuha ko ng baril o magtawag ka lang ng ibang pulis.
Hindi, ito lang.
Buang na. This are really some silly. Pag nandiyan yung pulis, that is attached to your body. Ang problema lang rin kasi ng karamihan, itong mga pulis pati sundalo, lalabas ng gabi, mag-inuman, dyan, pulis, dito, army o marine, maya-maya magtinginan, tapos makagawa na sa microphone, highway of dying. Maya-maya, puta na, nagbabarilan. Putang ina kayo. Ito na sinabi eh. Yung hindi nagkatuluyan, yung sugat-sugat, sinisipa ako talaga. Putang ina. Karaming kalaban natin, bakit kayo buang ito mga... Ay, nabutan ko tayo. Isa dito, isa dito. Ay, sinipa ko sila doon sa emergency room. Yan, wala nang mahanap. Sila na sa gobyerno ang buang. But anyway, I said I'm late, I'm sorry. But, itong tandaan ninyo, in my time, 6 years, kung anong kailangan ninyo, sinabi ko na sa lahat ng sundalo, kung anong kailangan ninyo, ibibigay ko sa inyo for you to fight. Kung anong klaseng baril gusto ninyo, because matagal na yan eh. But check it out because sometimes, kung sige lang naglo-loose bore na yan, so it does not have the accuracy anymore. But anything you want, you need to win a fight, to win a war, to win a battle, ibibigay ko sa inyo, walang problema. I went to your medical center. Would you believe it? I was really appalled to know na walang MRI, walang... Kasi karamihan ng sundalo ang sakit kidney. Lalo ng army. Kasi magkain yan. Kasi ang salay makuha ng dahon. Ano ba dahon sa Tagalog? Basta dilibs. Lagyan ng asin, kain yan. Ngayon ang sundalo yan. Kaya pa itong Amerikano mag-uwi galing operation. Maghingi pa ng ham and egg, tapos air condition. Kaya kinukulata yan sila doon sa... Tapos kung mag-asta, sarhento kung magsita, kala mo, general. So I will end my speech by saying that I said you have a problem. This will take much of my time. I have a quarrel with everybody, but let me just... Itong pagka-presidente ko, I thought kung except economic benefits will come if there is a peaceful Philippines. Ina-undermine tayo ng Amerikano ngayon. They're manipulating ang peso raw bumaba. They just... I would like to ask you to remain faithful to the Republic. Give me time so that I can go out of this ambit of our... Ginakaya-kaya kasi tayo ng Amerikano. Binastos na ba? Because there's always China, and I talked to Medvedev, the premier sa... Pagka inipit nila ako, I will have alliances, pero hindi anytime we have this RPP, RPUS packet, defense pact, new alliances of commerce and trade. So I'll be visiting China and maybe Russia and the other cities. As they continue to manipulate and then you will understand why. Kasi matter, bakit mo pakialaman, mabigat ang problema. Ang punot dulot nito is you cannot understand a friend. Instead of helping us, alam nila ang budget, they have a government, instead of that, aatakihin ka. Sabi ko, ganon. O, di sige. So, please understand, but this republic will rise. This Republic of the Philippines will continue to be great. At saka, sabi ko, dating ang panahon, hindi na natin sila kailangan lahat. We will survive on our own. We will fight our wars on our own. And we will win as a country. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Inyo po nga napakinggan ang ibinigay na talumpati ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa harap po ng humigit kumulang 500 miyembro at opisyal ng the Philippine Marines. Sa una po nga naging bahagi ng kanyang pananalita ay humingi ito ng paumanhin dahil medyo late po siyang dumating dahil nanggaling pa po siya sa Maya Aray at Pampanga kung saan po nagkaroon ng inspeksyon.
Manatiling nakatutok sa DZRJ 810 AM, 8 Media at 8 TV, Cable Link Channel 7. This is 8 TV. Good morning, Philippines! Isang magandang umaga ang bubungad sa inyong mga telebisyon kasama ang Supremo ng Bayan, Joey Falcon. Good morning, Philippines! At ang matalino, magandang mestiza ng bayan, Pia Morato. Good morning, Philippines! Alamin ang mga pangunahing presyo ng bilihin, cooking recipes and tips, maging lagay ng trapiko at panahon. Izquierda! Iba't ibang payo at tips mula sa mga eksperto ng ating bansa. Good news, good vibes. Good morning, Philippines! Balita sa loob at labas ng bansa. Narito na ang mga pambansang panggising ng bayan. Joey Falcon at Pia Morato. Tsahtsahin mo, baby! Ang programang sagana sa mga bagong impormasyon at dagdag kaalaman sa ating kapaligiran. Naghahatid ng mahahalagang mga balita at una ang public service. Tsahtsahin mo, baby! Kasama si Ginny Morato. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 4 hanggang alas 5 ng hapon. Dito sa DZRJ 810 AM, Radio Bandido at HRI TV, Cable Link Channel 7. Hatid sa inyo ng HRI Media Broadcasting Network, ang himpilan ng bawat Pilipino. Ang sandigan ng mga nangangailangan, tiwala sa kabataan, karamay sa pagbabagong buhay sa anumang laban. Ito ang inyong kasangga. Kasangga mo ang langit. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, kasama si Ray Langit. Alas 10 hanggang alas 11 ng umaga. Dito lang sa DZRJ 810 AM at HRI TV sa Cable Link Channel 7. Hatid sa inyo ng HRI Media Broadcasting Network, ang himpilan ng bawat Pilipino. Mga pangunahing balita balita at impormasyon na dapat ninyong malaman, mga kabulukan, pasisingawin at isisiwalat sa Rapid Fire. Makabuluhan at makatotohanang komentaryo para sa kapakanan ng bayan. Ihahatid sa inyo ni Percy Lapid, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Samahan si Percy Lapid sa Rapid Fire dito sa DZRJ 810, hatid sa inyo ng 8 Tri-Media Broadcasting Network. Noon, ngayon, at kailanman, ang musika ay patuloy na sumasalamin at nagbibigay inspirasyon sa ating buhay. Musika, noon at ngayon. Mga awiting nagbigay kulay sa ating buhay noon at siyang patuloy na nagbibigay ng pag-asa hanggang sa ngayon. Musika, noon at ngayon. Ihahatid ni Miss Saigon, Ima Castro, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alauna hanggang alas 2 ng hapon, dito sa DZRJ 810, hatid sa inyo ng 8 Tri-Media Broadcasting Network, ang himpilan ng bawat Pilipino. Alamin ang pinakasariwang chika at entertainment updates. Ihahatid na nag-iisang reyna ng mga Galorians, Rodel Ocampo Fernando. Mga gimmick at showbiz happenings na dapat ninyong malaman. Pakinggan sa Showbiz Galore.